My girlfriend said, "You're being too clingy and needy." When I asked to spend time together during my family emergency, I replied, "You're right, I'll give you space." Then I gave her all the space she needed, permanently. Her "I didn't mean it like that" text came too late. I, 28 male, got a call last Tuesday that my dad had a massive heart attack. He's 61, always been healthy, runs every morning, eats clean, the kind of guy who makes you feel lazy for sleeping past 7 a.m. So when my mom called me sobbing at 2 p.m., saying he'd collapsed at work and was being rushed to the hospital, my entire world stopped. I left work immediately. Didn't even shut down my computer properly, just grabbed my keys and ran. On the drive to the hospital, I called my girlfriend of 2.5 years. We've been together long enough that I thought, stupidly, as it turns out, that she'd want to be there for me. "Hey, my dad just had a heart attack. I'm heading to the hospital now. Can you meet me there?" Her response, "Oh no, that's terrible. Is he okay?" "I don't know yet. I'm freaking out. Can you come?" Long pause. "I mean, I have plans tonight, remember? Dinner with my college friends." "I know, but this is kind of an emergency." "I get that, but I haven't seen these girls in months. Can't your mom and sister handle things for tonight? I'll come by tomorrow." I was too stunned to argue. "Yeah, okay, sure." I spent that night in the ICU waiting room with my mom and my younger sister. My dad was in surgery for 4 hours. They had to do an emergency bypass. When the surgeon finally came out and said he'd made it through, my mom collapsed into my arms crying. My sister was shaking. I held them both and tried to be strong while my insides felt like they were liquefying. My girlfriend texted me at 11 p.m. "How's your dad? Hope everything's okay." "Dinner was amazing, Batabu. We went to that new Italian place." I didn't respond. I couldn't. I was too exhausted and I don't even know. Disappointed doesn't cover it. The next day, Wednesday, my dad was stable but critical. Visiting hours were limited. I took the day off work and spent it at the hospital with my family. Around noon, I texted my girlfriend. "Dad made it through surgery. Still critical. Probably going to be here all day." Her response, "That's good. Glad he's okay. Want to do something tonight? I feel like we haven't hung out in forever." Read that again. "My father is in the ICU, critical condition, and she wants to do something tonight because we haven't hung out. I told her I'd probably be at the hospital late and maybe she could come sit with me for a bit if she wanted." The hospital? I don't really want to sit in a waiting room all evening. Can't you take a break for dinner at least? "My dad might die. I'm not leaving." "You're being kind of dramatic. The doctor said he made it through surgery, right? He's probably fine." I didn't respond. Thursday, my dad was moved out of ICU. Still serious, but improving. I finally felt like I could breathe a little. I called my girlfriend and asked if she could come over that night. I just wanted to see her, hold someone, not be alone with my thoughts. Tonight, I told my roommate I'd help her paint her bedroom. "Can you reschedule? I've had a really rough few days." I mean, she already bought the paint and everything, like $60 worth of supplies. "And honestly, you've been really intense lately. Like, I get that your dad is sick, but you're being kind of clingy and needy. Every day it's come to the hospital or come over or can we talk? I need some space to do my own things too, you know? I'm not your therapist." Not your therapist for wanting my girlfriend to be present during the worst week of my life. Clingy. Needy. Because I asked my girlfriend of 2.5 years to spend time with me while my father was in the hospital recovering from emergency heart surgery. Something in me just clicked off, like a switch. "You're right," I said. My voice was calm, dead calm. "I'm sorry, I'll give you space." "Thank you, I just need you to understand that I have my own life too." "I understand completely. Have fun painting." I hung up, and I felt nothing. That night, I sat with my thoughts for a long time. I thought about every time I'd been there for her. When her grandmother died, I drove 4 hours to be at the funeral. When she got laid off last year, I paid her rent for 2 months while she job hunted. When she had a pregnancy scare, false alarm, I held her hand through 3 different tests and told her we'd figure it out together, no matter what. And when my dad almost died, she had dinner plans and painting plans, and I was clingy and needy. I made a decision. Friday morning I texted her, "I've been thinking about what you said. You're right that you need space. I'm gonna give you all the space you need. I don't think we should see each other anymore. Then I blocked her number. I know that sounds cold. I know some people will say I should have had a conversation, given her a chance to explain. But here's the thing, she had multiple chances. She showed me exactly who she was when it mattered most. I believed her. My phone started blowing up through other channels within hours. Her best friend texted me, "WTF did you do to her? She's hysterical." I responded. I gave her the space she asked for. Then I blocked her too. Update 1, 5 days later. So the fallout has been interesting. First, the good news. My dad is doing much better. He's out of the hospital, home resting, already complaining about the dietary restrictions his doctor put him on. Classic dad move. My mom is hovering over him like he's made of glass, which he hates and secretly loves. I've been spending a lot of time over there, helping out, just being present. Now the drama. After I blocked my ex and her best friend, I figured that would be the end of it. Naive of me, I know. Saturday, 2 days after the breakup text, my ex showed up at my apartment. Just appeared at my door at 9 p.m. like nothing had happened. "We need to talk." No, we don't. You can't just end a 2.5-year relationship over text. You called me clingy and needy for wanting support while my dad was dying. I think I can do whatever I want. He wasn't dying. He's fine now. He had emergency bypass surgery. He was in the ICU. I didn't know if he was going to make it. And you wanted to paint a bedroom. That's not fair. You're taking everything out of context. What context makes your being clingy and needy okay to say to someone whose parent is in critical condition? She didn't have an answer for that. Instead, she started crying. I didn't mean it like that. I was stressed too. You don't understand how hard it is when you get so intense about things. Hard for you? My father almost died and it was hard for you? See, this is what I mean. You're making everything about yourself. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. The absolute audacity. Please leave. No, we need to work through this. There's nothing to work through. You showed me who you are when I needed you most. I'm choosing to believe you. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. And people live with the consequences of those mistakes. Goodbye. Wait. She grabbed my arm before I could close the door. What about all the stuff I left at your place? My clothes? My makeup? That Dyson hairdryer was $300. I stared at her. Her father was in the hospital fighting for his life? Nope, she had plans. I needed emotional support? Sorry, too needy. But her hairdryer was important enough to bring up during what she supposedly wanted to be a reconciliation conversation. I'll box it up. You can pick it up from the lobby when I'm at work. You won't even let me into your apartment? No. After 2.5 years? After what you showed me during those 2.5 years? No. I closed the door. She banged on it for about 10 minutes, alternating between crying and threatening to call my landlord about domestic disturbance. Finally, she left, but not before screaming through the door that I was going to be alone forever with that attitude. Maybe, but at least I'd be alone with dignity. The next few days brought a parade of her friends and family trying to intervene. Her mother called me from an unknown number. "Young man, my daughter is devastated. Whatever she said, I'm sure she didn't mean it. You need to forgive her. With respect, ma'am, your daughter told me I was being clingy for wanting support during a family medical emergency. That's not a miscommunication, that's a character reveal. She was just overwhelmed. She didn't know how to handle the situation. Neither did I. The difference is, I didn't make her feel like a burden for needing me." She hung up on me. Her brother texted me a long message about how I was throwing away something good over nothing, and how I needed to man up and work through problems instead of running away. He added that his sister had given me the best years of her life, and I owed her at least a face-to-face breakup. I replied, "I spent 3 days watching my father fight for his life while your sister complained about not getting enough attention. I'm not running away from problems, I'm running away from her. There's a difference. And for the record, she gave me nothing. I paid her rent for 2 months, drove 4 hours for her grandmother's funeral, and held her hand through a pregnancy scare. What exactly did she give me besides criticism when I needed her most?" He called me a few names I won't repeat here. Then he sent a follow-up message saying his whole family agreed that I was emotionally manipulative and narcissistic for making her medical emergency about me. Her medical emergency. My dad's heart attack was somehow her medical emergency that I was making about myself. The delusion was almost impressive. Through all of this, my ex kept trying to reach me through different channels. New email addresses, Instagram DMs from accounts I hadn't blocked yet. She even tried LinkedIn, which was honestly impressive in a pathetic kind of way. The messages evolved over time. First it was, "I'm sorry, please talk to me." Then it became, "You're overreacting, this is ridiculous." Then, "You can't just ghost me after 2.5 years." And finally, "You're going to regret this." I didn't respond to any of them. Meanwhile, something interesting was happening in my actual life. My sister, who'd watched everything unfold, told me she'd never liked my ex, but hadn't wanted to say anything. She always made everything about herself, my sister said. Every time we had family dinners, she'd find a way to redirect the conversation back to her life, her problems, her plans. I noticed it, but you seemed happy, so I kept quiet. I wish she'd said something earlier, but I also understood why she didn't. The real kicker came when I ran into my ex's roommate, the one whose bedroom was supposedly being painted that fateful Thursday night. "Hey," she said awkwardly, "I heard about you and her. I'm sorry." "Thanks." For what it's worth, she never helped me paint. That night, she went out with some guy from her office, said you were being too intense and she needed a break. My stomach dropped. "What?" "I thought you knew. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything." But she did say something, and now I knew. My ex hadn't just dismissed my need for support to paint a bedroom. She'd lied about it entirely so she could go hang out with some other guy, while my father was recovering from heart surgery. While I was falling apart, I thanked the roommate and walked away. Somehow, this revelation didn't make me angry. It just confirmed what I already knew. I'd made the right decision. Update 2, 2 weeks later. The situation has escalated in ways I didn't expect. First, the guy from her office. After the roommate's revelation, I did some digging. Not stalking, I just asked around. Turns out my ex had been work friends with this guy for about 6 months. Lots of lunches together, happy hours. The kind of friendship that made her other coworkers uncomfortable. I reached out to one of her work friends who I'd met a few times at company events. She confirmed what I suspected. Everyone in the office thought they were either already together or about to be. "I always felt weird about it," she admitted. "But she'd talk about you sometimes, so I figured maybe they really were just friends." Now I feel bad for not saying anything. Don't. I wouldn't have believed you anyway. We never do until we're ready. Here's the thing though, I didn't do anything with this information. Didn't confront my ex about it. Didn't blast her on social media. What would be the point? The relationship was already over. Knowing she'd been emotionally cheating, at minimum, just validated my decision. But karma, as they say, works in mysterious ways. About a week after my conversation with her coworker, I got a text from my ex's sister. We'd always gotten along. She's actually pretty reasonable compared to the rest of the family. "I heard what happened. I'm not gonna defend her. What she did was awful. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in our family thinks you're the bad guy." I thanked her. Then she added something interesting. "Also, if it makes you feel any better, the guy she's been hanging around? He just got back together with his ex-girlfriend. She's devastated." I didn't feel good about that exactly, but I didn't feel bad either. Meanwhile, my ex's attempts to contact me took a new turn. She started showing up at places she knew I'd be. My gym, my favorite coffee shop, the bar where my friends and I watch football on Sundays. The first time, I ignored her and left. The second time, I told her directly, "If you keep following me around, I'm going to consider it harassment. I'm not following you. I'm allowed to be in public places. You've never been to this gym in your life. Maybe I'm trying new things. Try them somewhere else." The third time, the coffee shop, she actually sat down at my table uninvited with her own drink, like we were just having a casual catch-up. "We need to talk." "I really don't." 2.5 years, doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me. That's why it hurt so much when you couldn't be bothered to show up when I needed you. I said I was sorry, How many times do I have to apologize? You can apologize 1,000 times. It doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change who you showed yourself to be. So that's it? One mistake and you're done? It wasn't one mistake, it was a pattern. The mistake just made me finally see it. Pattern? What pattern? I was a great girlfriend. You told me not to bother you during your spa day when my uncle was in the hospital last year. Remember that? You were annoyed that I texted you about my work promotion because it interrupted your bachelorette weekend. You made me leave my own birthday dinner early because you had a headache that magically disappeared when your friends called with plans. Those are all out of context. What context justifies any of that? Give me one. She opened her mouth, closed it. Had nothing. She started crying. The people around us were staring. I stood up. Stop showing up where I am. Stop trying to contact me. It's over. Accept it. I left. She didn't follow, but I could hear her crying as I walked away. Part of me felt guilty. But then I remembered sitting alone in that hospital waiting room, checking my phone every few minutes, hoping she'd changed her mind and come. She never did. The final escalation came from her mother. She called me again, this time from her own number, so I actually answered. You need to stop torturing my daughter. Excuse me? She's been crying every day. She can't eat. She's losing weight. You're destroying her. With respect, I haven't spoken to your daughter in 2 weeks. She's been showing up at places I go, not the other way around. Because you won't talk to her. If you just have a conversation like an adult, I did have a conversation. Multiple conversations. She called me clingy for wanting support during my father's medical emergency. Then I found out she lied about painting her roommate's bedroom so she could go hang out with another guy. What exactly is there left to discuss? Long silence. She didn't tell me that part. I'm sure she didn't. More silence. Then, I need to talk to my daughter. She hung up. I don't know what conversation happened after that, but the showing up at random places stopped. So did the contact attempts from her family. For the first time in weeks, I had peace. Update 3. 1 month later, final update. This is probably my last post about this situation. Things have settled into something like a new normal, and I'm ready to move on. First, an update on my dad. He's doing great. Started cardiac rehab, already exceeding his doctor's expectations. He's grumpy about the low-sodium diet, but my mom has become weirdly creative with spices. He told me last week that he's grateful for the second chance, and that watching how I handled everything made him proud. That meant more to me than I can express. As for my ex, the full picture eventually came out, and it was worse than I thought. Her sister reached out again about 2 weeks ago. She'd apparently gotten into a huge fight with her family over the whole situation. She wanted me to know the truth, not to hurt me, but because she thought I deserved to know what I'd actually dodged. The guy from her office? They'd been sleeping together for about 4 months. Not just lunches and happy hours, a full physical affair. That Thursday when I called asking her to come over, when she said she was helping paint and called me clingy, she'd spent the night at his place, while my father was in the hospital, while I was falling apart. The reason he got back together with his ex-girlfriend? His ex found out about my ex and threatened to tell his company's HR about an affair between employees in the same department. He chose to save his career over my ex. She was just a convenience to him. I asked her sister why she was telling me all this. Because my sister is already rewriting history. She's telling everyone you were controlling and she was the victim. I don't think you should have to deal with that narrative. I thanked her. But honestly, I don't care about the narrative anymore. The people who matter, my family, my real friends, know the truth. Random acquaintances can think whatever they want. What did sting, though, was learning that during those first few days after my dad's heart attack, while I was desperate for any kind of support, my ex had been actively choosing someone else, not just ignoring me, actively choosing to be with another man while I suffered alone. I let myself feel that, really feel it, then I let it go. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't define you. Your response to it does. I could have spiraled, could have confronted her about the affair, made a scene, tried to destroy her reputation, but what would that have accomplished? She's already destroyed herself. She had a partner who would have done anything for her, and she threw it away for a guy who dropped her the second there were consequences. The consequences have continued to roll in for her, by the way. Her work situation got messy after the affair came out. Her roommate told a mutual friend who told someone who worked at the same company. HR didn't fire anyone, but the environment became uncomfortable enough that she started looking for a new job. Last I heard, she's still looking 3 weeks later. Apparently, it's hard to get a good reference when your former supervisor knows you were sleeping with a coworker who was in a relationship. The affair partner got promoted and barely acknowledges her existence now. According to her sister, my ex made a scene at a company happy hour, loudly asking him why he wouldn't even say hello to her anymore. He apparently responded with something like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and walked away. She left in tears. Multiple witnesses. She also lost most of our mutual friends. Not because I said anything, I stayed quiet about the affair, but because people noticed the timeline. They saw my posts about my dad's emergency, calculated the dates, and drew their own conclusions about who was there for me and who wasn't. I didn't have to say a word. 2 of her closest friends from college actually reached out to apologize to me. They said they'd known something was off about her behavior for years, but hadn't wanted to see it. Fair enough, neither did I. Her roommate moved out too. Apparently she was tired of the drama and the constant crying and the late-night phone calls with various family members strategizing about how to get me back. She told my ex that she was exhausting to live with and left. My ex is now living alone in a 2-bedroom apartment she can barely afford, frantically trying to find a new roommate. Last I heard through the grapevine, her mother is pressuring her to move back home because she can't afford her lifestyle anymore. The same mother who called me a monster. Funny how that works. As for me, I'm doing okay. Better than okay, actually. I spent the last month focused on what actually matters. My family, my health, my career. I've been helping my parents out more, which has been good for all of us. My relationship with my sister is stronger than ever. I got a decent raise at work because I threw myself into projects that I'd been putting off. Am I dating? No, not yet. I'm not ready, and I'm okay with that. The trust issues are real. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. I second-guess myself more now. Wonder if I missed signs, if I was stupid to believe what we had was real. But I'm also clearer on what I need. I need someone who shows up, not just when it's fun and easy, but when it's hard and scary. Someone who sees my needs as important, not as an inconvenience. Someone who chooses me, actively, consistently, even when there are other options. That's not asking too much. That's asking for the bare minimum. My ex texted me one final time about a week ago. Got through on a number I hadn't blocked yet. I know you hate me. I hate myself too. But I want you to know that losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I didn't know what I had. I'm sorry. I read it. Then I blocked the number. Not out of anger, just out of self-preservation. Some doors need to stay closed. For everyone who followed this, thanks for listening. For anyone going through something similar, here's my advice. Believe people when they show you who they are. Words are easy. Actions are what matter. And you deserve someone whose actions match their words, especially when things get hard. I asked for the bare minimum, presence during a crisis, and got called clingy for it. She asked for space, and I gave it to her, permanently. Some people don't realize what they have until it's gone. That's not my problem anymore. Take care of yourselves, and hug your dads if you still can. You never know how much time you've got.